because I don't see anything. But okay, there. Hopefully you can hear me now. Hello and welcome to the H&M Show. My name is Michael. I know. I couldn't help it. I was like, oh my God, it's not working. What's not working? I don't get it anyway. Okay, so every week, Heather, we ask, or you ask me, or I ask you. I'm going to ask you this week, what does H&M stand for?
I'm so glad you asked because I got it all ready.
Okay.
It is handkerchief and mirrors.
Oh, turn the sound off, Gord. Gord, turn your sound off. From the video, from the YouTube video. Yeah, there you go. There we go. Maybe it's mine. No, it's not mine. Is it on yours, Heather? Okay, good. All right, so handkerchief and what? Yeah, there you go. Handkerchief and what, Heather? What's the other? I didn't hear the other part. Handkerchief and what? Oh, mirrors. Okay, handkerchief and mirrors. Okay, why?
All right, so it's
Tell me why.
handkerchiefs and mirrors. You want to know why?
Why?
It is handkerchiefs and mirrors because. Oh, they're hearing you and not me. Mirrors because.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Hear you. I hear you. Why?
Okay, it's because tonight's episode is all about the magic handkerchief and mirrors. The magic of Camtasia.
Oh, I like that.
All right. Well,
it took a long
I know
time
to get to
it
there.
totally worked.
I got to say, and tonight's guest, we have on Gord Isman. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. I swear to God, that's awesome. I appreciate you. And listen, I want you to tell everybody who you are, what you're about, and also tell them about your challenge. So fire away. Go for it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michael and Heather. My name's Gord Isman, and most people know me now because I'm on YouTube, and I'm a YouTuber, and I'm making some nice growth and progress. I also educate people in all things about video, whether it's video editing, creating, or how to make your channel successful on YouTube, or to learn about video marketing, online video marketing for your business. So I'm focused in that area. And recently, YouTube, and now I'm going to go into what the challenge is about.
I know.
Recently, YouTube changed what's called its partnership program parameters. And the two core things that caused everyone to be up in arms were the number of subscribers you need to get, and this is over the last year. You have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours watch time over a rolling 12-month period. So what's interesting is I now more than double the qualifying aspect for subscribers, but for the watch time, I was about 1,000 hours short, 3,111 hours out of 4,000 hours required.
Wow.
So, and this was literally January 16th. So they give you a grace period of about a month. So as of February 20th, if you don't qualify, then you sort of fall out of qualification because you already had it. You lose it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so I decided, well, because I'm all about teaching people and helping them, lift their boat, and myself wanting to get better and improve, I said, why not put a challenge on myself to do things that are going to help me grow the hours watched in my channel to qualify, which would mean me having to get 3 times the normal amount in the 1 month, which is like a Herculean kind of task. And at the same time, share the challenge with the people and encourage them to do things to take on their own challenges to make their own personal best. And so we're now at February 7th with literally the last date is the 19th because 20th is the 20th of February is the official day.
Right.
So I went from 3,111 hours, which was leaving me about close to 900 hours to qualify. I'm now down to under 150 hours, which
crazy.
is just like incredible. And the big leap happened largely because of a show that I did the other day with Nick Nimmin, who's a very well-known expert on YouTube.
Yay.
And we did an hour and 40-minute talk, which soared to number 1 and has gotten great
That's awesome.
view time. I got 100 hours watch time from that alone on Sunday. That's how significant it was.
That's
So it was
pretty
equivalent
awesome.
to like 5 days watch time all in one. But it's not over until I've achieved it. And it's not about the numbers. And this is the one thing I wanted to get clear in case people aren't aware of this. A lot of people like to join YouTube because they want to earn what's called AdSense revenue.
Yeah.
And so this qualification constraints or limitations will take you out of that ability. But at the level where I'm at, still considered small YouTuber by big YouTuber status and the money game, it doesn't amount to half a coffee at Starbucks anyways, when you're qualifying at this level.
So that's like $80. So there you go. Half a coffee at Starbucks.
Well, maybe in your neighborhood, but Canada's already 30% more than you. So, so it's even worse. So the point being is I took it on as a challenge for me to up my game. And it's been amazing. I've done several things. So I'm really grateful for that. And one of those things is my first right here. I'm going to do a tutorial style video experience for everyone to enjoy and show them how great Camtasia is as a tool to utilize. And it's a first for me to do this. And Michael, how did you discover me?
Well, it was interesting because you were doing a live stream with one of our members in our user to user community, Eileen Smith, and I followed her on Google Plus forever. And when she came on your show, I said, "Oh, I'm going to watch this." And you were having issues with OBS or whatever, or had some hiccups. You guys ended up getting on, and it was a great show and everything else, but you just had some hiccups. So I offered up to Eileen. I said, "Eileen, you got to get a hold of Gord. Let me help him. Let me go help him. I'll be glad to help him out." And luckily, you reached out to me, and we connected, and we've been making this happen ever since. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I get the feeling that you guys could probably talk forever and ever, so I'm going to interrupt here and let you know that first of all, Andrew says that it is fantastic. So congratulations, Gord.
Thank you.
That was a really good show. That's what he said too. That was a really good show. Chris is also in the audience, and he says that was fantastic, and he was there. You did a great job.
Cool.
So everybody, and I got to tell you, Chad Lafarge just said, I've now subbed to Gordon.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, I'm going to do that a couple times.
That's okay.
Sub to Gordon, and we'll go through your videos.
Oh, that's
so you're going to
awesome.
have at least 10 minutes from Chad.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Well, I do a lot of preparation work for these interviews, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. And the challenge got me to step up and start to do that. So awesome. I really enjoyed it, and I prepared extensively for my discussion with Nick. So I was sure that I was hoping that we would bring a lot of value to the people. And likewise, if anybody wants to watch Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern time, I'm doing a similar talk with Brian G. Johnson, which is also another, well-known YouTuber and solid in the education space there. And I got a few other surprises coming next week. So it's very exciting. I'm so glad I took the challenge, and I'm going to do something special for all your audience tonight. So
wonderful.
Yeah, we're glad you're here, and I cannot wait to see what you do with Camtasia. I want to see the magic of what it's capable of. I'm sitting back. I'm all comfy now.
Okay.
All right. Well, what we're going to do here is I'm going to get ready to share the screen so that way you folks can see. We're going to rock and roll on let him go for a good 20, 30 minutes, whatever it takes, or you guys ask all the questions you want to.
Questions.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
ask questions. We're
Always
watching.
ask questions.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Michael, but I get to say something.
You're fine. You're fine. And the thing is, here's the deal. Here's the cool thing is after the show, we have a paid for member community. We have paid for community. Anybody that is a paid member, it's $10 a month. If you want to come in afterward, Gord has agreed to stick around for a little bit. Not past 2:00 in the morning, though, Eastern time. I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We want you to come in. We want you to come in and see us and talk to us and talk to Gord a little bit and ask him some questions. That's what we're going to do.
Hey,
so,
Michael,
yes.
I'm going to step out on a limb here. Would it be okay if we offered for tonight only, since we have this really awesome special guest, that we let anybody join us in the after party tonight?
Yeah, I can do that. I think we can do that.
All right.
I'll put that link.
I will put that link out in the chat, so stay in the chat, and we will do it then, okay?
Perfect. Absolutely. And you guys get a little taste of what we do in the after party and that kind of thing and talking to people, so that's excellent. Great idea, Heather. Always trying to
I have one every once in a while.
Trying to build our community, so that's good. All right.
That's
Gord,
awesome.
Are you about ready, dude?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw it at
let's
you.
Roll.
Okay.
Okay.
It's all you,
Thank
and
you.
we'll shut up and listen unless we have some questions that we want to put out there.
Okay. Sounds great. Okay. So thank you. And first, I just want to give you a sense of what the format is of what I'm going to go through. I have about a 40-second video that I'm going to first play so that you all can see, what a cool thing that I was able to create. And then I'm going to show you inside Camtasia some of the tricks on the editing and how to set this up and to make some of the special effects happen and sort of what goes into composing and planning and producing this kind of a little video. This video, just as a background, was created for sort of like an advertisement to go with other text on social, in Facebook and Instagram and things like that. It's a square video, and it's about 40 seconds, and it's for a gentleman. I made for a gentleman. His name is Daryl Stern, and he runs the Stern Storming Marketing Academy, and this was for his Stern Storming nationwide tour. So this is one of the commercials, and I'm going to sort of let it run here now. We're going to watch it, and then I'll go into details. So here you go. So watch it all. Take a look at all the special effects and the images and different things that happen. So here we go. Just try and get this as big size as I can here. Here we go. Here we go.
Very cool.
So that was a 40-second kind of jam-packed video, and there's a lot of work that goes into producing something like this. There's lots of products out in the marketplace that help you do quick videos where you can key in like a few phrases of text and you choose a clip. Well, if you really want to have control of what you're producing and be unique and not sort of the same as the next guy that's going to take sort of this like pre-formatted or pre-structured approach, you could go this route. But of course, you need to invest the time and energy to develop the skills. So first off, what I want to do is just show people that there's a whole structure that I follow to doing these things. And this is the editor, and I'm just going to expand my timeline here to show things. I know looks like a bit of a crazy mess.
That's crazy. How many tracks is that? I just want to ask you, how many tracks is it?
This is it covers, I don't know, 17 tracks, but that's just predominantly because things are layered.
Yeah, I
right?
understand.
And something can be done in a couple of tracks. It's just a matter of how much
detail
you pile in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing I want to mention is it's always important to produce a script. And what I do is so you can see like, the words here, boom, your 2018 digital marketing, Stern Storming. Then there's Wall Street, the date of the event, what the workshops are called. And, so regardless, before you sit down, and then a call to action at the end, before you sit down to go start in your editor and start to pull things together, you need to be sure that you had created a script. Now that script can be text, and the text can also be already converted into a narration. It all depends on what your goals and what you're doing. In this video, I had no narration. If you notice, it was just all music and text. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if people, which they often do in social, their sound is off, pardon me, you can see, you can get the messaging for what the video is about and just take in the visuals. So I'm just saying to you, it all depends on what your goals are with what you're trying to execute on. So after you would have sorted out that message, I then like to put together a storyboard. Not everybody does this kind of thing, but it's good to do in terms of planning out what you're going to put together. So as you can see here on the left-hand side, I have the audio, where I call it, where you can have an audio with the text or just, one or the other or both. So you see here, I say sound explosion, and the underlying music fades in, and then I have those few pieces of text, and then a duration of like 2 seconds. But then on the right side, I'm giving instruction of what the visuals and the scene content are going to be. So I have a video clip image of Wall Street, and then I say that I have the words going in a sequence one after the other, not all together at once. And I have a motion graphic burst effect, and and I have a start of a time lapse clip. So if we go outside and we look back at the video, you can see if I just scan through that, you see in the background there is the Wall Street. That's actually a video clip. And then I have the boom that I mentioned there, and then the year 2018 and digital marketing. And then it just starts into that time lapse clip. So do you see, if you go through and you take this approach that you go gather your assets, your media, your clips, your audio, your special effects, your different things that you plan, and you plan it out on something like this, it helps you get a good feel for the big picture of what you're going to produce. Okay, so that's just a practice. Awesome. Not everyone does it. I love just randomly creating.
Tip, though. That's excellent.
Yeah, I love just, all depends on the efficiency that you want out of the process. Like I will oftentimes get down there into the editor, have my audio track and the text and start, and then I'll just start my creative process from scratch. So, I don't always use the storyboard, but it helps a lot, especially if you're in a collaborative situation with other people and you need to share and get things down before you actually go to execute the creation part, right?
That's awesome.
So next, so we've covered their scripting and storyboarding. The next part is the layering, which was what Michael was, alluding to, all of these tracks. And when you're using a video editor, things stack on top of each other. And what that means is, in the case of images or video, what you put on top of something else will show on top. And if it blocks it out, it'll block out what's underneath. So some things have transparency, so what is beneath is still visible. And I'm going to explain how some of that fits together in here. So what I like to do is I put my sound stuff on the bottom track. So here I have a sound effect, and then here I have a music track. And there's two pieces to the music track. That's because I actually took a long music track and spliced it to get a certain effect that would only be 40 seconds long. And that's something I often do. I may find a piece of music and I go, oh, I love this beginning, it's great. But then where I need it to transition, it doesn't do what I want to do. So then I'll examine the rest of the track and break it down into useful bits. And I came up with this solution here. Then after that, in this third track, actually the third, fourth, and fifth, these are all the images and the video clips. And you can tell, like if I mouse over one of these clips, you can see it says media type video. And then to the left of that, media type video. And then here, well, that says video too. Maybe they all are video. I have a few pictures down here. Here, this one's image. And these are images. So the different media type can all come together. And I like to put them, again, just above here, because the other stuff usually layers on top of the video elements. So we're building out the track and the track height. Then I have something here called shape. But if you notice on this square video, there's like this grayish background in there. And then you see it sort of comes clear. And I use that as a special layer to do a kind of filtering, and I'll explain that a little later. So that needs to be there before the other stuff, because the text, which is here in these two layers now, comes on top of that. So you can see that the text parts, whoops, I just increased the size. Text parts are layered on top. I'm going to go back to, oops, a little too small. The wonders of tools bouncing all over the place, and you just click a button. Okay, we're back approximately to where I want to be. There we go. All right, so back into the scrolling game. So now above the text, which you see here, I then have some additional text. So in some places, there's multiple layers of text, which you'll see out here. So you see there's the yellow and the white stuff. So they're separated on different layers. And then above that, I have what are called motion graphic elements. They're actually, transparent GIFs. And you saw those like here, where you see these little lightning bolts. And we're going to go into that. So you can see those things layer on top. So they're at the top. And there's a whole bunch of them because each single lightning bolt, as you see here in the four corners, is a separate object. So that's why you see them stacked 4 deep. And then at the top, I'm just trying to get this to scroll. These 2 objects up here are actually, you're going to see in here some lines. If it shows, let me get the full visual to show here. You have to play a bit with there. See these dashed lines that you see moving.
Lines. Yeah.
Those are other motion graphic elements. So again, they're layered on top. So that's a quick walkthrough of the layering in the. Sure.
I'm just going to interrupt you with that. So what you're saying is everything that we see on the screen in that finished video, each piece is a separate element that you've layered in. Is that what you're saying? So like even you have lightning bolts, you have 4 of them. Each one of those is a separate element.
Right.
Is that accurate?
And yes, in this case, that is the case. If you had a motion graphic element that was more sophisticated, that was created, and it had all of those lightning bolts together, it may come in as one asset. So here it's actually 4. And what I did is I creatively decided, oh, here's a lightning bolt. And I'm going to show you a little later on when we get into it, because it's another point I'm going to reference, how I came up with doing this on here. So we're going to get to that. So yes, to answer your question in a one word.
I mean, we're talking about 2 seconds. In 2 seconds worth of what we see in the finished piece, all this. I'm marveled. This is way beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, this is where the art. Have you ever heard the term? Casey Neistat was. I remember watching a video of his, and he said the art is in the edit, and a lot of people that are sort of more prolific in the YouTube space, they did at a point in time do a lot of their editing themselves, and it's very time consuming. I remember Casey Neistat said he could be anywhere from 4 to 11 hours a night doing his vlog every day, and he did it every day for a year. So imagine the amount of time that he put into the art of producing the end product.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. And there's a lot of services, and that's why one of the things I do is I create and help produce video for people, or I help them wherever they're at and their skill and bring them along. And because I'm, quite knowledgeable in editing, and for example, in a tool like this, I also use Adobe Premiere Pro. I can help people learn what they need to do and appreciate where they're at and what they're trying to get out of producing their videos, because I believe it's not for everybody to go deep diving into the more sophisticated editors. And believe it or not, like there's levels above this with like things like a Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro on the Macintosh. So there's a lot of free editors and pay ones, and that's like another multi-hour discussion. But I mean, just giving you an idea of where
Chad has some comments that he's making, and he did mention the storyboarding. I'm just going to read what he says. That it has some parallels to live broadcast pre-production workflow, only from a post-production perspective. I tend to think of them as similar, but with a different sense of urgency. So that was his comment. And then he asked, so you could render one video with 4 lightning bolts and transparency. You could just get more control with 4 and manually tweaking them individually.
Question.
That's right. Exactly. And that's what I was trying to explain when I said, depending on what the assets are, you may have just, small elements, or you may have something more compound. And it's a matter of like what inventory you have access to play with and research. Because a lot of people wouldn't even know that you can go buy little things like this in a pack that comes with a whole asset set to play with, right? So yes, there's no question. I mean, you can get as simple or as complex and crazy as you want. Nice. And wow. Sorry, go ahead, Michael. Were you going to say something?
No.
I was just going to say I was just interrupting again. So.
That's all good.
That's good. All right.
It's great. I appreciate the comments as we go.
Sure.
So we just covered the layering of the tracks, and now what I wanted to do is go through and just focus a bit on some of the elements, and so that you can see how they're put together. So on the bottom, first, I'm not going to talk about the sound yet, but here I was explaining that I have a whole bunch of clips here, and you're going to see here. First, you see the Wall Street in the background, and then where there's a divider line here. We went to another clip, and this is very cool because this is a time lapse clip, and because of the energy in the music, I wanted a fast time lapse. So that's people walking on Wall Street, and then I have another clip, which is video, but it's pretty static. It's just like a New York Stock Exchange image like picture, and people can recognize that as part of New York City, and it says New York there. And then I have a whole series of clips that are all of Daryl, and you see they're all cut in different points. So I'm just trying to show you that the editing of the media and what you want to throw together, it's a creative process. So I could have just put one long clip here and let it sit, but no, you want to have your video be engaging. And they say, every like 3 to 6 seconds, or 9 or 7, 5, whatever, under 10 seconds, we'll call it 3 to 10 seconds. You need to be changing up what's going on to keep people's interest, because we have a very, low attention span. And so what I do is, when I look at things, I need to feel music. If there's music involved, I need to feel visuals changing, and there has to be a flow to keep me, interested to watch the next 10 or the next 20 seconds.
Yep, I agree with you wholeheartedly, which is why when you watch my OBS productions, a lot of times that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting there and I'm changing scenes and things like that, just for that same reason, to keep everyone's attention and do that kind of thing. Let me change the scene real quick. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, in fact, when I was watching the pre-roll stuff that you show, I mean, how many scenes do you go through in that video that you produced to lead people into the show?
Right.
It's constantly changing. So
Right.
That's a perfect example. I mean, if you just had a static picture, people might think, are they coming or what's going on?
Right.
Because it's actually moving.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
It has a whole different impact. Okay.
All right. So Chris has a question. How did you add the color adjustment?
I'm going to get to that. Is Chris referring to the overlay that gave the grayish tone in the background of the text?
I'm guessing, we'll see. Speak for Chris.
Okay, we'll get there because we're going to. So first, what I was showing you here is there's all kinds of elements. So these are images and video clips, and then I showed you at the top already. There's text and there's motion graphics. So we have all these different kinds of elements, and I already explained the track layering concept. Now we're going to show you that I had sound effect. So predominantly the big sound effect was that boom at the beginning. But what's very interesting about this is I'm going to show you, I'm going to mute out that sound. So I've just disabled the track. So I'm going to play the beginning again. And you tell me how it feels, the difference to start out this track and get the energy going. And the other thing I want to mention before I play that is, the other reason for this layering design is because if you think about a full track concept, you have the ability to, like if I wanted to get rid of all the if I wanted to do something on the full track, there's ways of selecting the whole thing, or turning the track off, or locking it and preventing it. So there's more than just the layering. There's also the strategically being consistent with the kind of objects on each line, so that you can do other things with the tool, like mute out certain things to see how other things work. Kind of like how Michael does in OBS with his locking on and off concept, locking tracks and turning them on and off.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. And so now with the sound effect, I just muted that. So watch how the beginning is here now. So there was nothing exciting there to start off. And now when I add that back in, so you see how that boom is like a shock, and then that combined with the music following creates a certain, like a whole like thud in your chest, and then it's almost like eerie the way the music flows into it. So that whole aspect is called sound design, when people package together what they're doing. And I play a ton. I have so much fun. I go to I have a subscription in Audio Blocks, which is now part of Story Blocks and Video Blocks. And I'll go there and I'm looking for a boom. And you could find like 30 different bomb blast sounds. Okay. From carpet bombing to, the mushroom cloud boom. And this one's, And the thing is, this is what people don't appreciate. When you get to a finished product, I may have spent 20 minutes if I chose to, and maybe not time effective and and cost effective, but I may have spent 20 minutes finding the perfect boom sound that I wanted to go with this music. So there's a lot that can go into the creative side. That's why you can hear at times, and production can be very expensive depending on how sophisticated the product is that you want to create. So if it was just pure talking head kind of content, then it's not like you're having to put in a lot of other assets and other things. So Michael and Heather can do an intro and that takes up 2 minutes of the time. Well, this is a 40-second video that took a lot of hours to make. So do you see what I mean? So when people say to you, quote me on a piece of work, well, what is it you want to do? And do you, and so a lot of people don't even really know what they want to do, but they have an idea, right?
Yep.
I'm just sharing other dynamics.
I never know what I want to do. I know somebody needs to do it, and I'm not the editor, so I would be coming to you and saying, this is what it should look like. You figure out how.
Okay, well, then that means you have an idea of what the end product is, and that's definitely a start, right? And then if someone said to you and came to you and said, I want this totally custom animated thing, and then they said to you, well, that'll be like $8,000, you'd say, maybe I don't need a custom animated thing.
Maybe I'll just figure out how to do it on my own. So here's a question I have that is not related to what you're doing right at the moment, but what if I did want to learn how to, because all this looks very advanced. This is not Camtasia for the beginner tonight. This is the potential of the magic of Camtasia.
We're kind of like teasing people in a way, showing them like here, I've produced something that's kind of considered advanced, especially with Camtasia technique and skill that I have.
Absolutely. But what if I said to you, okay, I'm thinking I want to get into editing my own videos. Are there any resources for me or anything that you would be able to help me with that? Or are you just saying, I'll give you a quote, see me after the show?
No, well, for example, my YouTube channel is loaded. I have like over 20 tutorials on Camtasia, but you've heard the old adage where it's one thing that people create all of these individual videos on certain topics, but that still doesn't help someone that says, hey, I need to be shown what are these clips, what are these media, how do I bring them on here, where do I get them, what should I be looking for? And looking for more like of an A to Z approach. And you can, in doing things like searching on YouTube, learn most anything that you want. But how much time do you have and how structured an experience do you want?
Exactly.
Or you can get private coaching. I do private coaching as an example, or I do a combination. I try to work with people the way they want to work, and I'll be honest with them if I feel that they're stuck and that maybe them doing it purely on their own, this part or that part isn't maybe the best route to go. Here's how I think we can get there more efficiently or quickly for them. And I make sure I try to have a good assessment of where the individuals are at. That's why on my website I describe different scenarios about, like, are you in one of these kind of conditions or states? Because whatever way it is, we can find our way to work.
Chad says out there, you say people don't appreciate the time you might invest in choosing the sound. I disagree. It really can be the difference between a lame video and a great one. It's just difficult to measure that. Yeah, it's just difficult to measure that, where where the stopping point is, starting point, whether it's too. I mean, I'm agreeing with Chad, and it can be too cheesy sometimes, where it's just too much too. You know what I'm saying? Over the top.
Oh yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
It can be.
And I will say this too, that for the bootstrapper, the person who's getting off the ground, they may not be able to afford your abilities. It doesn't mean they don't appreciate what you're
exactly.
doing.
Oh, of course.
Can't afford the ability. But I don't mean to derail us too far, because we do want to get back.
No, I think it's important because you help position what we're doing here with where you may be at in your own mindset and looking at this and just maybe jaw dropped and going like, this is kind of crazy, like, wow, crazy for me, so, Yeah,
I'm just glad that there are people out there who understand this product and can put there, make something 40 seconds long that looks like it took a very long time. Yeah. So I get right back to it.
Yeah, but think about it. If people are investing in ads to do this kind of thing, it needs to work for them. So
exactly.
they're, it all depends on the return on investment that they're going to get out of doing this kind of thing and how they promote it and use it, right? So sometimes that investment to do something that has that kind of impact is very worthwhile. And then, so, if you don't try different things, you're never going to know, because it's easy to sit here, and say, I'm not going to bother because that's it's just too expensive, but we don't really know because we haven't tried anything at any level. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, and if anybody's interested in learning, apparently Chris vouches for you. They're great videos on your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
We'll get right into that.
Back at it.
So next point. So that was the sound effects. Now what I'm going to do is this is really cool. I'm going to show you the text, what we did here in the text. So in the timeline, the text stuff I've got here is right here on this track right here, on these couple of tracks here. But in the first section, you see here, I have, so I have Stern Storming and I have New York City. But what I want you to see is I'm going to zoom in now, and you're going to see that, whoops. Come on, cooperate, Camtasia. Just, there we go. Do you notice how the NYC is like in stark white, but you see nice black outline?
Mm-hmm.
So that helps when you're against a busy background, that helps it stand out. And because Camtasia does have a visual effect, it's called drop shadow, and it you can add it. See here, it's called drop shadow on the top left here. But the drop shadow doesn't have that pronounced an effect. So a technique that I use, which some people do, is I have, it's double layers of the letters.
So
I'm gonna turn off the black. Now watch. Do you see there soft, how the white is soft and easy to get lost in the background. Mm-hmm. And then I added in the black, and now look at how it stands out. See, so that makes a big difference. And the only difference there is I would take the white and I would duplicate it. Okay, I would duplicate the white text and then change its color. So you see here, there's a color, color selector right up here. Palette, and then on the black text, I've just selected the black. It's black. So you see, and I just offset.
Oh yeah, okay.
I just offset the black by a tiny bit. Yeah. So for example, here I'm going to select. Let's just see which one I think is that, the white or the black. It's the white one. So now I'm moving it. Do you see now how wide that is? So yeah, and you just you do your own eyeballing. And the good thing is, if you mess it all up with Camtasia, you just press Control Z or undo to whatever number of things you did, and then you can get it right back to where it was. I
just have to mention this. He's Canadian, and I love that when they say Control Z. Just got to say that
instead of Control Z.
No, don't ever mistake it. It's exactly, you said it right. It's great.
Okay. So that's one aspect of the text. The other thing was, I think Chris's question. He asked about, now you notice I moved the cursor to where I am with the gray background. Do you notice how the fact that I put like a semi-transparent overlay in gray, it muted the intensity of the background to allow the text to stand out even more. But what I did is, I'm going to go down here, and that's where the shape is. So I just took, and I'm going to zoom in here. I just took a gray shape, and I'm going to see if I can move that, the filter. So watch there. See how I slide it out? See the difference?
Oh, yeah. So
there, that shows you the filter. And that was set with, on the right side here, you see it says 50 opacity. So I went to 50%. So if I did higher opacity, it'll stand out even more, but then you can't see the image. If I go down, it's less transparent. So I set it around 50 because I want you to see and identify the location, because that's part of the messaging. And then I used a really cool effect, and I'm not sure, Michael, how much you use this, but I actually took a transition, a fade transition, which is normally an end transition here, but I made it go the whole length of the clip, because what I wanted to do is go from the 50% that I was here and then gradually fade it out. So you see how it comes out? So that transparency fades right into the full normal color.
Nice.
And so you didn't have the shock of the color coming at you.
Right. So it wasn't like a total jump from the shade. it just had a very smooth flow to it. So if you watch it, and that sort of eased you in to clarity and got enabled me to show my text with a nice being able to be visible, nice and clean.
All right,
those are some tips.
We're at about 5 more minutes, of time, and then we're going to go. Then we'll work on. So whatever you want to finish in that 5 minutes. If you want to go into more detail, we can always go in the after party. Since we're inviting everybody could come if they want to.
Well, I can go through the last few bits pretty quickly. It's all good. Okay. So the next one was so I was just talking about transitions, and then I used an effect here called. If you look here, if you mouse over anything, you can see it says circle stretch. So this is the transitions. They go on the beginning and the end, and they can be whatever length you want. And I sort of custom tune those on everything I do. Mm-hmm. So the cool part here is called circle stretch. So watch as I move the spot, see how that text is leaving out, popping up in a circle stretch. And that's because of the effect of that transition. And again, transitions are all here, all kinds of them. And there's the circle stretch. So I'm just showing you can use transitions and other animations. There's all kinds of options inside Camtasia that make it very easy to do. Next one is I used some zooming effect, and I wanted to show you how I use that. So in the beginning, so zooming is a form of animation. You can use what's called zoom and pan in Camtasia or animations, and I take what's called a custom animation. This one here, all I did was subtly move the Wall Street sign in closer to us. So I zoomed in, very subtle. And the length of this animation determines how quick or how short that happens. So if you see here, I shortened it up. See, it moved the zoom pretty quickly. But if I let it go back to the length it was, meaning that the end size is there, but it happened over a longer period of time, you see it's more gradual. Okay, so that's using zoom to your advantage. And the only other place I wanted to show you that, which is in a really neat spot in a particular clip, is here. Now, see here, I'm zooming in so that you can see that the clip that Daryl is walking in on here is actually, I'm zoomed in by starting the frame and like making the picture bigger because you can just make it up or down to fill the screen accordingly. But if you watch at the start of this zoom, you can see the box square is set there. And then at the end, you can see it's slided to the left. And so I've actually, aside from the clip running itself, so if I were to do this and just run it, you'll see how he walks in. Now, if I put it back and run it, you'll see he walks in and it has a faster effect. So you see, it's almost as if I had a camera moving on stage. I created that effect by just playing with the clip with an animation.
I just have to add this, Chad, this is very apropos moment for this. Chad says, I love how the subtlety of movement adds so much to the production. And that's exactly what I was thinking. So thank you, Chad, for typing what I was thinking.
I can't use those big words. So I wasn't thinking exactly that.
I was thinking big words. All right. but I just love how something so simple, that's really a simple thing, makes such a huge impact. And when you remove it for us so we could see without and then see it with, that's just impressive. Thank you, Gord.
Yeah, and the last two, these are very quick, and I already alluded to this. What I ended up using was 6 clips for Daryl, and the reason is I wanted to jump cut to beats of the music. So if you see here, I'm just going to play here. So you see when the music switched, I went to another image, another position altogether to keep the flow and the feel of what you're taking in visually to mesh with the experience of the music. So these things you can do what are called zoom cuts, which is a combination of zooming in just and then when you cut to the next frame or the next image, you're in another place altogether, which you can see I'm doing all over the place here.
Wow, yeah.
And the last point was to show you about the motion graphic. So I'm here on the end, and I'm just going to show you that you saw the little lightning bolt we were looking at. And I'm going to show you here how when I get the asset and I bring it in, well, first, here's the starburst that went at the beginning of the video with the word boom. It comes in, I just have a little coverage like that. Then I play with its size, and you can see that the frame here, like look at how big that is. I had to move the frame size well beyond the canvas of the square, but originally it came in, it's just fitting there. So again, playing with the size, understanding what the asset is, and seeing artistically what you want to execute in the edit. And then that's just showing you how I manipulate that. Here, the bolt, if you look at it, I play it, it pops up and then it disappears. That's all the character that's there. But when you actually see it involved in the actual video clip, it drops in and it pulses and then it bounces. So all of those things are going on. So, and I shrunk it from that big piece. So in Camtasia, you have something called behaviors. And so I added the pulsating behavior. So that gave it the pulsing. And on the in, there's 3 levels. There's an in, a during, and an out. So there's 3 stages to an animation. So in the in, you saw it bounce in. And then in the during, it had a pulse. So it pulsed a little. And then on the out, it shrinks. So you can see that as we go to the end, boom, it'll disappear. So it shrinks to go. And there, I'm just showing you what I did is I combined my knowledge of how to use all of these tools or utilities inside Camtasia combined with all the assets to come up with something creative. And the palette, you can be as creative as you want. The sky's the limit. And that covers everything I wanted to get through.
That's so
all right.
awesome.
All right. Don't go nowhere. Stay on this because we've got to say, Chris says where it says color adjustment on the right.
Okay.
You know what he's talking about?
Did Chris tell you?
How do you get to that box?
Okay. So, well, is Chris talking about in reference to the gray shape thing, or to be using color adjustment for something else? Like I didn't actually apply color adjustment here. I just put in a shape and I changed its opacity. Color adjustment, I could have actually, we'll do this for Chris so he can see. I could actually take that shape and go to color adjustment, and color adjustment is a visual effect. I can drag it right on here on top of the shape. So if I go here and I drag it right onto, you see it turned green, the framing of it, that means I'm applying that, the colorize effect to there. But now I can change the color that I want to use in the color adjustment.
It's just a different way of doing it.
I think that was what he was looking at. Was that
it
said just color adjustment on the right hand side, and he wanted to know how to do it on an image. How you got to that box.
Yep. So that's how you get there. You drag the visual effect onto the media that you want. And in this case, it's a shape, right?
Okay. When you're on an image of a guy, do you see that when you're on the image of?
So he says when you're on an image of the guy, like when you were on Daryl.
Okay. Let me go out of here. I'm going to delete that because I don't want to mess that up.
Yeah.
When I'm on the image of Daryl, okay. Let me just get that in context.
I think you may have covered it
on the video. On the video.
There. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. So sorry.
He says right
there. It is,
I was mixing up color adjustment with colorize. I meant to show colorize. So, but I do want it because that's very important. Where I was before, just for 2 seconds. Here it is. That's gray. If I brought on the colorize, I could make that filter to be any kind of color I want. Right. So if I wanted it to be blue, right. So now I run it. Right, and it's blue. Then I would have changed it in the shape here too, which is still gray. Sorry, yeah. And then, but the point is, you can make the filters things, apply colorization because it's another whole cool effect. And I just wanted to show you that. Now to go back to answer Chris's question, we come back here. Color adjustment is managing the color, the brightness, contrast, and saturation. So what you use this for, so these 2 images I had, they were not totally the same level brightness. So I'm going to show you this little circle twirl means I changed it from what the defaults are. So if I can reset this to the default. You're going to see here that this second image, it's not going to match as closely in intensity. So watch. See, whoops. Well, I
really doesn't.
Shouldn't have done that. No.
Yeah,
so, yeah, because the default is some wonky value that Camtasia uses. It's not very good. But I'll just show you. So look here. So see here. I'm just showing you. Yeah. So see here how that picture would have looked different. All I did was adjust them to get them to look the same, and I used those attributes to get me there. So now they match. Do you see what I mean? So often, I had 2 photographs, although they were taken in the same session, they didn't color match well, and I created a special effect here with his images to bring them in. And there's a lot more to this
That
than
answered it for Chris. Awesome.
was that it?
Very
Okay,
cool.
great.
Yep.
Cool.
Awesome.
Very cool. And Andrew has a statement. Gord has an abundance of the patience gene, something I have a great lack of.
Oh, wow. Is it patience, Andrew, in to do something like this, get into the editing? It will be just like you wouldn't have the patience for it. And the reason why I challenge that is because what people don't know is once you start to learn a little, and if you're having fun and you're enjoying it, then it takes on a whole other characteristic for you, and the work becomes play. So for me, every time I come in to edit, it's like play. I'd much prefer to edit, believe it or not, all day than sit there and record, because when I have to look into this camera lens, it's like,
oh, we need to
right.
hook up on some level, Gord, because I'm much more the record person, and you can do all the edits you want.
There you
I will
go.
be very happy.
There you go.
Cool.
All right.
gang.
That's a good note to end on, Michael.
It is, isn't it? We are we are good. We're ready to rock and roll, and we just have to close a couple closing things. I am going to go now. Give me a second, and I will get there. I want to talk about tech in the news. Let's go to tech in the news. So what's interesting this week, I noticed. Here's a couple things. How to display visual responses from Google Home on your TV with Chromecast. I know they talked about this at I.O., and I supposedly it's out now, or it's rolling out. So I thought this is really cool, and I wanted to show that off because I think that's neat stuff. The other thing is I thought was pretty interesting. I read this article this week. It said Microsoft targets Dropbox, and Google customers with OneDrive offer. Don't know what that offer is, but it's interesting. We'll have to see what that is and read a little bit more about that. And next week we have... All right, so the sneak peek for next week. Next week, we're going to have Scott Greenstone on. Scott Greenstone is one of the Google top contributors that I have. Met at the last two summits that I've gone to, and he does Gmail, Inbox. You can see right here, you can see his collections. I'm kind of showing you that there. He's into Project Fi. He's into all kinds of stuff. So he has some collections and stuff on Google Plus where he does Google tips and things like that. But he's going to come on and he's going to talk to us next week so we can learn a little bit about Gmail and the new Google Calendar. So he's going to go over some new stuff there. So that's awesome stuff. I mean, I can't wait for that to happen. Gord, once again, I'm just going to say thank you very much for coming and joining us tonight. We really, really do appreciate it. Anytime we can get somebody on here, one, to get your exposure out there so you can see the world and let them see you, learn who you are. The other thing is it's great for us because this is what we do. We try and do the tech stuff and get some really cool stuff. And I love Camtasia. I've been using Camtasia forever. And last night when we were doing the process to get ready for tonight, I actually learned 2 or 3 things. Gord, how do you do this? I need to know how you do this, man. So it's also a little selfish, I guess you would say. But I just want to say thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. Heather, as usual, always good to see you, my friend.
Glad to be here.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm glad to meet you, Gord. You've got a
Likewise.
wealth
Thank
of
you.
knowledge. I'd like to hang out while you're doing this one day and just watch, because there's no way I'll ever do it. But
and at the end of this video, please come back and watch. And again, if you want to catch on some stuff, and also all of his information will be on there. You know, it's Gord Isman at .com, and then it's youtube.com, Gord Isman, et cetera, et cetera. And
yeah, we'll put all the links in the description. So if you're watching this in replay, the link should be there. And for those of you who are watching live, I'll be putting the link for you to come join us
right here in the chat. Right in
here.
that chat.
Yeah,
right in that chat. So everybody gets to come in tonight.
I will, yeah.
Thanks, everybody, and good night.